So strategies for creative finance. So as soon as we open it up, we're going to see a couple different strategies. We're going to have principal reduction, principal and interest reduction, and interest only. The reason these are broken up in two different categories is because the top category is for free and clear properties that don't have an underlying mortgage. So principal reduction, we already went over it. If I give you $500 against your $50,000, it's going to be for 100 months. Principal and interest reduction, if I give you $500 at a 5% interest on your $50,000, it's going to be for 129. Interest only, I'll give you $500 a month for the next 18 months, which is a 12% interest yearly against your $50,000. How does that sound? Yes. Those are the ones. Now, before we continue to subject to, I kind of want to touch on it because you might see it. Subject to is we're picking up the property subject to an existing mortgage. So if there's an underlying balance, we become the owner of the property, but the mortgage stays in place. That is what a subject to property is. The mortgage is going to stay in place, but the ownership of the property is going to transfer to us. That's all it is. There's nothing more than that. The protections, of course, we're going to protect them by using a third-party servicing agreement. We're going to protect them by making sure we pay on time. We're going to protect them by every time we make a payment, their credit is going to be going up because every payment we make is going to be recorded to a credit bureau. Their DTI is going to be lowered because since we're using a third-party servicing company, they're going to be protected. And then after X amount of months, it's not going to report to on their credit because we're using a third-party servicer. Whole bunch of stuff we'll probably get into later, but a subject to transaction, once again, is just going to be subject to an existing mortgage, meaning we're picking up the mortgage and we become the owners of the property. Now, what I did want to touch to is subject to and seller finance hybrid, because it is possible. So if they owe $200,000, but they want to sell it to us to $250,000 on terms, we can pick up the $200,000 for the existing loan that's already on there. We just have to say, okay, that extra $50,000, I could pay you $500 a month for the next 100 months. If they want it with interest, I could pay you $500 a month for the next 129 months. So we can literally, based off what we used before, that's where we started with the seller finance, so that when we start developing into the subject to world, we can just skill stack. We can still pick up your mortgage, and then we can give you this on the back end. So knowing that we can do those two things, so being able to skill stack and saying, okay, I know I could pick up your subject to property and then I can give you this, is another tool that we can have in our toolbox, because we're not doing anything different. We're just saying, look, you're not going to walk away with as much money as you think if you were to sell it conventionally, or if you want to make more money, this is the way I can do it. All we're doing is subject to now is the quote unquote starting point where we're at, and we just finance whatever remaining is on top. So the whole beginning of what creative finance is starting with seller finance and then using seller finance to skill stack on top of our subject to, because if we do need to pick up a property and they don't just want subject to, they want money attached to it, we need to know, is it going to be a principal reduction attached to it, or is there a principal with interest on it? Now, whatever they want on it, we should already know how to calculate you based off the formulas that we just went through before, right? If you're going to want X amount, it's going to be for X amount of months. So this is just a real quick video before we go into subject to, so we can clarify what we're about to get into, because we are, hopefully in the future, when you do these properties, you are going to have to skill stack. It's not always a free and clear. It's not always just a subject to. A lot of times it's a subject to with terms, right? So now that we know that, enjoy the rest of it, because we're about to go into what a subject to actually is.